أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Selamun Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekatuh. We will inshallah continue with the 19th word. For a few weeks we've been studying the 14th droplet. And inshallah we will continue with the 14th droplet. So this is 19th word and 14th droplet.
Also, the Quran is a founder. It is the basis of the clear religion and the foundation of the world of Islam. It changed human social life and is the answer to the repeated questions of its various classes. Repetition is necessary for a founder in order to establish things. Repetition is necessary to corroborate them. Confirmation and repetition are necessary to strengthen them. Also, it speaks of such mighty matters and minute truths that numerous repetitions are necessary in different forms in order to establish them in everyone's hearts. Nevertheless, they are apparently repetitions, but in reality, every verse has numerous meanings, numerous benefits, and many aspects and levels. In each place, they are mentioned with a different meaning for different benefits and purposes. Also, the Quran being unspecific and concise in certain matters to do with the cosmos is a flash of miraculousness for the purpose of guidance. It cannot be the target of criticism and is not a fault like some atheists imagine.
So again, this is a very interesting droplet. The 19th word is about the prophethood. And author is trying to make us get acquainted with the prophet. He listed several proofs about his prophethood. He also at the very beginning defined the prophethood as a kind of institution, a living tree, whose trees and branches and fruits reaching to us. So now as a final droplet, let me read a few sentences of the 14th droplet. The all-wise Quran, the treasury of miracles and supreme miracle, proves the prophethood Muhammad ﷺ together with divine unity so decisively that it leaves no need for further proof. So after listening or counting or discussing all different proofs of his prophethood and all these different aspects of his prophethood, now he's saying that the Quran by itself is the ultimate proof, not only prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, but also decisive proof for divine unity. And we shall give its definition and indicate one or two flashes of its miraculousness, which have been the cause of criticism. So this part I guess is important. He says we should give its definition. So this part, probably that's the reason it's been a while. Maybe this is the 4th week that we are studying the 14th droplet, because it's the definition of Quran. Such an important topic.
It's another topic in itself.
Sorry?
It's another major topic in itself.
Yes, it's another major topic in itself, exactly. And every week I'm just reminding this to myself so that when I read the text, I should be careful what author says. Because if the definition of Quran was so, let's say, trivial, like he wouldn't spend any time writing such a droplet or such a text. But because he thinks there is something that people usually miss about Quran, So he's spending his time writing such a text. And as, let's say, as someone having quote-unquote Muslim background, but I never heard someone telling me or asking me, like, do you know what Quran is? It's so obvious, right, for all of us. Again, quote-unquote, obvious. Like it's the books, like the divine book or divine text telling me, I don't know, introducing me into the religion, telling me about the God, and what to do, what not to do, and so on. So it's Quran, everybody knows it, even a child knows that you should respect and so on. But the author, in his, how old is he and when he's writing this text? 40s, 50s, maybe 60s?
Yeah, 40, somewhere between 40 and 50.
Still not a young boy, right? And he's studying what Quran is. It's very interesting. Like after all these years, he's been a religious man for his entire life, but still he's studying what Quran is. And he thinks it's worth to study, so he's sharing his studies with us as well. So again, reminding myself that I should be very careful reading this text, to trying to see what authors tells me new, tells me fresh. So I shouldn't read the text with my previous conceptions. So okay, let's read it again. Also, the Quran is a founder. It is the basis of the clear religion and the foundation of the world of Islam. Quran is a founder, it is the basis of the clear religion and the foundation of the world of Islam. It changed human life, human social life, and is the answer to the repeated questions of its various classes. Very interesting sentences. Anyone wants to take the lead?
What I take away from this, at least because he's going to be talking about repetition, is that the foundation of something has to be clear. Otherwise, it's not really a foundation, because it's really the thing upon which everything else is built upon. And he's saying the Quran is the basis of the clear religion, because the Quran in and of itself defines a certain worldview which is clear. And if that's not clear, then there is no sort of clear religion, so to speak. And only in that way can you really sort of reconstruct human life, human worldview, human social life based on clarity. And how something becomes clear, at least to me, is when you sort of address it from all sort of aspects. Like in science, if there's a question to be answered or a hypothesis or a theory, you try to design experiments to attack it in every different way. And in this sort of way, so that you find that it's robust. The idea is not corruptible. Really, the Quran is this way. That's why it answers repeatedly questions of many different classes of people and addresses questions of many different types as well. So in that way, repetition is in a way necessary. And as he's going to go on, repetition within answering those questions addresses different aspects to questions people have. So it's not necessarily addressing the same question, but it may be addressing something different somebody else may be asking about a different aspect of the world. So that's what I took away from this.
Oh, any other thoughts about clear religion and Quran being founded? And I guess the question is, it is the founder of what? But then the author is kind of clarifying that by saying it is the basis of the clear religion and the foundation of the world of Islam. So what do you understand? What should we understand from Quran being the founder of or foundation of the world of Islam or basis of the clear religion?
How I understand founder to be is, I guess, something that is responsible for the establishment of something. But I also think, again, like I'm late to some of these discussions. I'm joining them after a while. Perhaps it's very important to understand what the Quran is in this context as well. I guess the part that I get confused about is if I understand the Quran to be, let's say, a verbal speech from the source of everything, including myself, then is it fair to say that it's that speech that is the establisher or the founder of this clear worldview, or the source behind it? Or does it even matter? Or is it just semantics at that point that we have to separate the speaker from the speech? Just some thoughts or questions that I had on my end. But that's what I kind of understand from founders, like the establisher.
I guess, that's a interesting question. What comes first, the Quran or the clear religion? In a sense, at least how I take it is, it sort of acts like the blueprint for the world. It, in a way, the clear religion being that it defines it. It gives it a blueprint of what it is specifically. It translates it for you into a blueprint, and that blueprint can, in a sense, form some sort of construction that you have about the world itself, that being Islam. So that's kind of how I understood it. But that's just how I interpreted the sentence.
I have a question. If you guys could enlighten me or help, the way when I'm reading this, it's saying Quran is a founder. It is the basis of the clear religion, and basis is generally, it's not it doesn't mean it's not a huge word. It's just the basis of it, and the foundation of the world of Islam. The way I understood it before was and I thought Quran was Islam or Quran was the religion, but here I guess it's emphasizing that it's more like the basis or the building block. But then I'm wondering what else to the religion is there then? Because if Quran is not the focal point, it's not all of the religion. Because I guess here it's saying that there's much more to it. What's the other things we should realize of religion?
What's this? Sorry, last part, I missed that.
So here, the way the text is going, I feel like it's saying Quran is just the basis, the foundation. It's not the religion itself, or most of the religion, which is how I used to think about it, or I think about it. So I'm just wondering, what is the most of the religion, or what's the other things we're building on top of the Quran? If Quran isn't what the religion is.
Maybe take this step by step and maybe just add to your question. First of all, what is religion? And second question is, what is clear religion? Obviously, those are some sort of terminology that the author is using. Do we really know what does he really mean by using those specific terminology? So So, and as a result of that, like then your question. So how is that really relate?
So I don't want to play with the words and so on, but another point, in addition to what Osman said, here the author says also Quran is a founder. So he's giving the different reasons why we have all these repetitions in Quran. So he listed some other reasons in the previous paragraph about the repeated desires, the repeated needs of the being humans. It's being a book of invocation, book of worship, and so on. Now he adds on top of it and says that, also, Quran is the foundation. Therefore, we have such repetition. So he's not saying Quran is only foundation, it's also foundation of. And another thing, like even if we take it as what you said, like Quran is just being the foundation of the religion or basis of the clear religion or foundation of the world of Islam, even when we take it that way, I guess it doesn't mean that Quran is just the beginning, but then there are the rest which completes the religion. It wouldn't mean that it's like such a thing necessarily.
But like, at the beginning, you were drawing our attention to the fact that authors felt the need to determine or maybe define what Quran is, right?
Yes.
Like growing up, like we all have some sort of like notion of what Quran is. Like we all have some sort of understanding of it. I think the same thing is true for religion as well. So what do we understand from religion, and what do we think that the author is, how author is defining the religion? And is it really the same thing or not? Our definition is really the same thing as like the author's definition.
I would just say one simple word. I think religion being worldview, what is the worldview, and if something if there is a worldview, it must correspond to reality. It must be true. So it has to be a clear worldview, a clear religion. And the way I see how he's tying the Quran as the basis of that clear worldview is that, if I go and see a building, I know there is a plan that was put in that was used to design that building. It's clear. The building has a clear reality. I know it. I don't know what it is necessarily, but it does. Somebody comes along and gives me the blueprint of that building. To me, that would be the Quran in that sense. It doesn't add anything extra to what is already out there. It's essentially giving you a foundational sort of translation of what is the worldview that must be true. Because I know it must exist. There must be a certain interpretation of the world. I don't necessarily know what it is, and I need help for something to come along and translate it for me, to define it for me, to form that sort of essential foundation upon which everything else is constructed. So that's how I understood it.
Assalamu alaikum. So Suhail, I have a question for you. So you said it's not adding anything new, the Quran, because we already know that thing. And how do we, so Quran is just confirming what we know already? Or what is within us already?
I wouldn't say it's because it's maybe bringing to light or making us aware of what's already within us, a potential it's already within us. I need something to make me aware. It's just like, I know we always use this example, but for example, there is a language out there that's called Mandarin Chinese. I know about it. I know that it has some real existence. But I need somebody or something to come and help me interpret it and understand it. I can't do it on my own, but it's not something external to me. I can understand it, but I need some sort of, manual, some sort of guide to translate that sort of reality for me, whatever that, that language, so to speak. And that's how I understood the clear religion, in that there is a worldview. There is a specific worldview that's clear because it corresponds to how things are externally. But I need help in figuring out what that is. I don't know if anybody agrees or disagrees, but that's kind of how I understood it to be.
Yeah, just with one, I think I agree with like the way that you define it. Just one small addition, maybe you already said it. The religion, the clear religion, should speak to me in a way that that will resonate with me. That it resonates with something that is already in me, inherently in me. So that's why it's almost helping me to explore what's already there. So actually I can really confirm the truthfulness of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not external to me or external to the other thing. It corresponds to both, because I can't distinguish myself from the world itself. We are, in a sense, one and the same. And something that comes and translates the world for me is, in a sense, also translating myself. It's also exploring and explaining myself at the same time. So there's, as you said, a resonance, both externally and internally.
I was gonna say, can someone orient us to the conversation? We came in late for the discussion, so I'm not sure what the.
Oh, okay.
Can you just read it, the paragraph?
Or if you just point me to it, I can.
We were just discussing the paragraph says that also the Quran is a founder. It is the basis of the clear religion. Okay.
The clear religion. No, we're debating.
Yeah, right there.
Discussing what the clear religion.
Yeah, we were trying to understand what he really meant by that, and the foundation of the world of Islam.
So the clear religion is more of the author's terminology for something.
Oh,
no, it may not be necessarily the case.
Oh, okay.
The base bir dini mübinin esasıdır. Esas of dini mübin.
Oh, okay.
There was someone, I guess. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was still thinking about the clear religion. So based on the conversation so far, so every human being, let's say without the Quran, every human being has a religion, right? There is a particular worldview that we come up with, right? But then there is something already within us that we haven't activated yet, or we haven't really, right, used some of those potentialities within us. And then that's how the Quran comes in and makes it clearer for us, or establishes that foundation. Would that be correct to think it that way? I mean, based on what Osman and Suhail were saying?
Actually, I have the, not alternative maybe, but I've been reading the text from slightly different perspective. Like when we think together with the next sentences, I'm not sure, like this clear religion, the term is the perfect translation.
Yeah, I think it's more clarifying religion.
Yes, exactly. That's how I thought. Like, not the religion itself. It's not the religion that is clear, but what religion provides is clear. So it's like illuminating religion or clarifying religion. Because the rest also talks about how Quran being foundation of the world of Islam, and then changing the human social life, being answer to repeated question of its various classes and so on. To me, at least, I might be wrong, but to me, it's as if he's saying, the author's saying is, the Quran is the basis of this religion that we call or that we live, which clarifies things for us, which make
what
it...
does this statement mean? What do you, like, whatever you just said, what does that statement itself mean?
So I guess what I understand is we have all these questions, we have all these, let's say, mysteries in our lives, and we have all these dead ends. Like, what am I going to, what am I supposed to do with now? Do now? What am I going to do? Like with these things or with that thing? All these questions, all these mysteries, all these dead ends, and Quran comes and clarifies things for me. Comes and change my life. So this is what I understand from the being founder or also being a foundation. Like Quran gives me a revolution, change my worldview entirely. It takes the seeds or the initial steps of a new life, depicts me a completely new life and become a foundation of it. And through following Quran, I find answers to my questions.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the word is asas is more foundation than founder. If it was founder, it'd be muassis, or like someone who finds is a founder. But I think maybe the translation, because he capitalized clear, it seems like that's like a salient kind of term. But I think he just says the Quran is like the foundation for a religion that clarifies.
So, it is the base of the clear religion and the foundation of the world of Islam. For example, it doesn't say that the foundation of Islam. It says foundation of the world of Islam. And the original language, it says alam.
Mm-hmm. I guess we had the phrase in the first paragraph as well.
And then he opens up this what he means actually with this statements, I think. It changed human social life as the answer to the repeated questions of its various classes. So I guess Quran has such a phenomenal message that changes the human social lives. The question is, how does it really revolutionize the society? And human being the very small, how do you say, the yapıtaşı, the small
building blocks
of the society. So you know, building blocks. Oh, that was Turkish. No, that's not the focus on Urban. So human being is being the building block, very small building block of the society. So revolution should start from the individuals, right? And individuals here in this text says that it is numerous in terms of the understanding and the quality. So then I guess with all this clear religion, world of Islam, revolutionizing the society, what is the process? How does that really take place? What is the aspect of the Quran that actually teaching me whatever the clear religion is or Dini Mubin, and how does that really revolutionize my life? And based on that, is there any difference between the way we understand the religion and how we are supposed to understand the religion?
So just before you go, I guess what you said lastly is very important. If after reading all these things, after discussing all these things, if our understanding of the Quran has not changed, that means either author or we just wasting our time.
I mean, maybe not benefiting as much as
Yeah.
we were supposed to.
Yeah, I remember I read this. I wish I could remember. But basically, the ayah was saying that, and then, like, as people go on, they started to suffer the consequences of actions that they made. And then they said, oh, if only God would send us a messenger to clarify. And so when the messenger comes, they don't necessarily agree with them because it goes against what they like. But that's sort of, I think that's what goes back to the, like, how does the Quran, like, change society? The society itself sometimes suffers so much that they ask for this guidance. And the Quran sort of is like an answer to that suffering. And then the method is interesting that you said, like, he starts from the person and then spreads to, like, the people. And if we think about da'wah, like how the Prophet started as one person, and maybe his wife and a few companions, and then from the individual level of each person that it went through.
This aspect of it, the Prophet starting with his wife and companions and so on, I might be wrong. Like my knowledge is very limited when it comes to the life of the Prophet, unfortunately. But at least as far as I know, what he was telling to people was not the things like do not lie or work hard, right? Or you should be careful about how you speak, try to make people smile. He didn't give such messages, right? Because when the author says it changes social life of the human, you expect such things, at least today. And when we talk about the making a change in social life, we always talk about smiling, not lying, giving charity, and so on and so forth. But that was not the way he started the revolution.
Right.
It was about divine unity. It was about resurrection. Right? So I guess this aspect is very important. The question you asked, like what is the methodology, how it changes the social life, I guess the answer goes back to the very beginning of this 14th droplet, Quran being the proof of divine unity. This is what changes human social life. Or this is the foundation of word of Islam.
In the same line, so like based on what we have studied so far, I think clear religion, as far as I understand, like should be understood in the same line as the what the definition was, like in terms of like understanding the Quran itself. Because like we have the tendency to plug something in there and read the rest of the text with that mindset, but in reality, this is a specific term that is used here, and there must be a reason for it.
And I guess with the paragraph, he's defining what it means, clear religion. It is the thing that changes human life, human social life. It is the thing that is the answer to the repeated questions of its various classes. This is clear religion.
It's like a reference.
Yes.
Instead of the reference being the fathers and I think at the time the reason why people worship the idols, they said that because our fathers did this and our parents did this, and so we're doing this. So it changes the reference in a sense. And I think in terms of like understanding different ways and different interpretation, this is going off the other question that you brought up. I'm thinking like there are also different levels of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
That through like, even though the same, it might seem like it's the same, that there's different levels of knowing things. Like there's, you can read about something, you can hear about something, you can experience something, you can intuit something through it. I mean, there's so many different levels of knowing that. I think is that sort of what you were saying, like asking about like if there's.
Yeah, I think
I'm reflecting on it that way at least. I don't know.
He also, I think,
I
implies that. in the text here.
I still think, this clear religion, it's a specific phrase. I don't, when you say, my point is that it sounds like it's one phrase as together, speaking about the clear religion, if that makes sense. He's not, at least from how I understood in Arabic, he's not talking about the clarifying religion as if people have a religion or people have a worldview and it's come to clarify that worldview. I guess you could interpret it that way, that the Quran comes to interpret everybody's individual worldview or clarify everybody's individual worldview. Or you could understand it as the Quran comes to expound on what the clear worldview is that must be out there. I understood it as the latter, but I guess you could take it as either way. But the phrase itself makes it seem like that there is some sort of clear worldview. And the Quran is going to come and show it to you so that, as we said earlier, that it resonates or it corresponds to who you are. But I guess maybe it could be both ways.
So, Sohail, my concern with the latter approach, which was that it is here to just basically provide the clear religion, or I was trying to like paraphrase it with different words, maybe like true reality or the true, or I guess the real side of life, like kind of establishing that. My concern with that was, if we're saying that Quran is the answers to questions of these various types, like I read it in that way as well first, but then my concern with that was that if it's answers to questions, what good would an answer be to me if I don't have the questions myself or through my investigation? And so for me, like, again, clear religion could be interpreted in a way where, as per my comment, that like, it removes the uncertainties, or perhaps provides the evidence through, I guess, serving itself as an evidence, as an answer to the questions that I have. And I think for me, that is almost like a requirement, like, to have those questions myself before I go and look at the Quran, or like before I even find the need for a Quran, I must have those questions first.
I will say one thing to that, in that I do agree with you that if you don't have a question, you can't really speak about a worldview, or if you don't, having a worldview means you have a question in a sense. My only issue with that is that he then goes on to say the foundation of the world of Islam, which to me means that there is an Islamic side to things, or in other words, there is a side which looks towards divine unity. Like, it's out there. I cannot deny it. Whether I want to see it or don't see it is irrelevant to me, but it's out there. I know it's out there because I accept it, but somebody else may deny it. And my issue with saying that clarifying religion, it's almost as if to say that, okay, well, here's Islam. It's a certain worldview. You can have it, but it's, it's another worldview amongst 100 other worldviews. Whereas to me, this is saying, no, it is the worldview, because it clearly articulates how the world really is, and it demonstrates how the inward aspect of things look towards the unity of being of the creator of the entire universe. So that's my concern, if one makes it sound that like sound as if, oh, it's going to clarify worldviews, but that just makes it sound like it's only within me. It doesn't have any sort of external application within the world. But I don't know if he's really saying that. I think because when he's saying the foundation of the world of Islam, it's almost as if he's speaking about the world as a whole having a side to it that looks to the unity of its creator. But that's how I understood it.
So just a follow-up question to your explanation. For when you say, I guess, how do you interpret world of Islam? Because the way I was interpreting it for myself was that it's something that is inclusive of everything. So it doesn't leave out any perspective, and that's why clarifying it kind of made sense. Like it's clarifying everything that there is to a worldview. And I can definitely, I guess, sense the sensitivity around the word clarifying. It's as if something is already there and you just have to remove the impurities from it, versus establishing it on the basis of a interaction of question and answer, investigation, and finding results. But how I understood, the world of Islam is essentially something which is all inclusive of everything, and that worldview, which encompasses viewing everything from every angle, Quran seems to be providing the answers I will have questions to on this journey of investigation or through investigation.
Qasim, I think I agree with it, with the fact that if you don't have the questions, then you will never get the answer. But Quran is also there to introduce the questions as well. In other words, if it is the Quran is the speech of my creator who knows me, because he is the creator of me, so who knows me better than I know myself, right? Quran also there to introduce you the aspects that you never knew about yourself, or kind of guide you to explore the aspects that you were never aware of yourself. So that's why I'm not sure if I would just reduce it just to the questions only. So I'm going to have questions, then the revelation is going to answer my questions. It is true that that's the very foundation of it, but I don't think that's just the only thing.
Another thing which is related to what you said, your questions and your worldview changes with you as you change.
Yeah, one question leads to another one, right?
Yeah.
So as you go through the journey, you realize that you have a lot more questions that you were not even aware of those that you already had. That is actually the part of the process as you go through that journey, on trying to understand, make sense of your own experience. Here, one question leads to another, and that is actually the revolutionary aspect of the revelation itself.
Yeah, through Quran, you become someone else. You are being transformed. Your entire worldview, your interaction with the people, he's talking about the social life, the way you see other people, the way you treat other people, the way you see yourself and you treat yourself is being changed through the foundation.
And all this, I think, is really possible, what Suhail was saying, because the clear religion, somehow sould be understood on the basis of belief in the Tawheed, and also the world of Islam should be in the same line. And when it comes to me, my relationship with it, once I am exposed to that the clear religion, it should be just so natural for me, in question, like quotation mark, it should be so natural for me to say that, yes, this is the truth.
Yeah.
I can confirm it.
And
I think that's why it is like, in a way, that's like it is clear in one aspect, but in the other aspect, it refers to the truth, so you can confirm the truth. And in one aspect, it's just so natural for you to like confirm it. That's why it is so like obvious and so clear to you.
I definitely wouldn't disagree with what Suhail said. I guess it's an important aspect of it. Like, it is so clear, it is so inherent to me. What I'm saying, I guess, is an addition to it, like how it is so natural or how it is so inherent to me, because it illuminates my way. That's something I can confirm.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I am being in dark before Quran. I am being in dark, and Quran and the message coming and illuminating in my way. This is how I know that it fits to me. So this is what I understood from this clear religion. Like, when I say it makes everything clear, so this is what I meant. Like, I am in dark, I'm living the night, and Quran as like a sun rising in my life, illuminating my life, making things clear to me. And this is how I accept it. This is what I understand from its being natural or its being inherent to me. And I guess the other aspect that we've been discussing, its revolutionary aspect. I guess this is very important, because here the author is talking about a human social life or world of Islam, like the way we live our life, or the way we come together, speak to each other, treat each other. So it is the foundation of this as well. So we have a tendency, like, we already know we shouldn't lie, we already know how to treat people and so on and so forth. But the revolutionary aspect of the Quran is not that, it is the only source telling us not to lie. Like even ancient Greek text talks about not lying. But the Quran changes the definition of lie for us. It gives us a reason, a clear truth, that it makes it so clear that we shouldn't lie. With Quran, not lying, for instance, becomes something internal. That I feel it, that yes, I shouldn't lie. Because, why? Because of divine unity. If I am being created with the one who is, by the one who is Rahman and Rahim and Maliki Yawmiddin, then I shouldn't lie. This is different than, the philosophical text or sociology has text telling me that you shouldn't lie because, lying maximize the crime in the society and so on and so forth. It's completely different. So this way, it is the foundation of the social life, because it's defined a new social life based on completely new concepts. To the point of giving charity, for instance, it's not anymore about helping people or making them rich or ending their suffering. It's not about that anymore. Giving charity is the way to know your Creator. Is the way to get closer to your Creator. It is the way to appease, is it the word appease, like make it easier, or make it,
I don't know.
Anyway.
Please get to it.
It's like sustaining your desires, your needs in this life. It's about you and your creator now, giving charity. So this is what I understand. It's being a foundation of world of Islam. It gives you completely different worldview, becomes a founder of this worldview, which also translates into your social life. That's what I understand.
I have a question on this. I guess my question is, like you said, let's use this as an example. Like, do I gain closeness? And I'm going to put like air quotes around closeness, with like to God or to the Creator, through charity, or is it that I must gain closeness first, and the result of that closeness is, let's say, results in me giving charity, or it doesn't matter, like both can be the right means? And the reason why I'm asking this question is, it as a human being, what feels more natural to me, if it's like, oh, someone's hungry and I can just feed them, and if I feed them, and I'm using the term I feed them very loosely here, but let's say I become a means of just feeding someone food, I'm not sure if I will question that further. Like, you know, if I'm like, oh, why did I have this need? Or, you know, because I've kind of satisfied it in a way. I fulfilled the desire, if you will. Versus if I have the need, or if I have the desire to do something and I question that first, find the wisdom in it, and gain closeness to the Creator through that wisdom or through that reasoning or reflection. And as a result of that reflection, I end up saying, you know what, like, this is what I need to do. Let's say give charity or feed someone. Is my question clear?
I think sort of, I want to kind of, it sounded like even both of you, so yeah, so I wanted to talk about a couple things. The first one was about the views, about clarifying worldview versus clarifying the worldview. I think both, if we agree that there is, you know, al-haq, and if there's a clear ground truth sort of thing, then I think both statements are saying the same thing. Meaning, like, it clarifies the individual worldview by leading you to that ground truth or clear worldview, which I think that was the first. And the second thing is about how do we get to that worldview? Do you need to question it first, or can you gain the insight without any questions? And I think that's sort of what Qasim. I think that's sort of what Qasim was saying, is like, do you not have to question first before that? And sort of what you were saying was, well, the Quran also introduces you to question, and also introduces you to these questions literally too. There are specific questions that the Quran asks. You know, did they not look and see how the camels, you know, created? Did they? Or questions that are brought by the Prophet. How does God give rights of afterlife? Or questions by a non-Muslim.
Do you know what is Laylatul Qadr? How would you know Laylatul Qadr?
Yeah, so I think a lot of questions are literally introduced in the Quran as well. And then in terms of wisdom, I think, is wisdom something that we earn, or is something that we acquire? Like, is it given to us, or do we have to go get it? And I think it's a little bit of both. I think that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُؤْتِي الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَمَنْ أُوتِيَ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ I don't remember the rest of the ayah. I think
Translation.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He gives the wisdom to who He pleases, or who He wants. And if you get wisdom, then this is a great blessing. So in many ways, wisdom is sort of given, and it's either given through an experience, or given, a lot of people gain wisdom through different ways. And I think the Quran is the sort of the short route to it, in a sense.
Short route.
Yeah, the short route to it. It's like, here's this wisdom that if you read the Quran.
Do you use wisdom because in the social context, like that's what text is studying? I guess, like, I'm curious, like, how did you come up with the the word wisdom.
Wisdom.
Like, what reminds you that? Like, I think, are you referring to one of the conversations took place?
Yeah, because he was saying that how do you gain the wisdom if you don't first, like, he was saying, so like if I give charity, his question was, if I give charity, do I give charity because I'm pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or is it something that's just satisfying a need, like eating, for example, like hunger, or how do I gain that wisdom from that charity without actually first questioning? And so, like, I think, well, at least what I understood it is the purpose of the question was to evaluate whether or not we can gain wisdom with or without questioning, and how do we gain that wisdom from the Quran if we're not questioning, and does the question come first or the wisdom come first? And I think in a lot of ways it doesn't, like, both ways work. Is sort of what I'm getting at. And then the last thought, I mean, these are just kind of random thoughts, I guess, but last thought is that the world of Islam, I think an interesting worldview that I was thinking about is, what if there's a world of Islam, meaning, not necessarily just the religion of Islam, but also the term of submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And kind of in a way, this helps you enter that world of Islam or the submission. That we know that everything around us is submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, except for the human being, they have the choice of whether or not to join that world in a sense. And what if this is a way that so these are just random thoughts that I don't know if they're random if I straight off the question. So I apologize if I'm like distracted.
No, there's no reason to apologize, not at all. Everybody sharing their understanding and their scattered thoughts. So.
No, I'll say one thing. What the brother brought up and what Qasim brought up. I at least thinking about it in sort of like a simple math equation, 2 + 2 = 4. I can arrive to equals 4 by going through 2 + 2, first and foremost, or what Qasim, that would be analogous to saying, I have a sense of being, giving, for example. So I arrive to a conclusion that sense must be given to me by one who must be, all charitable or all giving or all merciful. And I sort of have a relationship that way. But I also may arrive to that conclusion without sort of being aware of how I got there. For example, I may not know the mechanics or way of how 2 + 2 = 4. I just know it somehow, some way. And when I think about it in backwards or in reverse, I realize 2 + 2 must equal 4. And in that sense, maybe I align myself with the charitableness of the Creator in that sense. So I don't think, as Osman was saying, I don't think you have to have all the questions laid out, because you don't necessarily, you may have not explored all possibilities. The Quran is there to, address them. You may have never thought about something you had taken for granted. And then when you think about it in reverse, you realize what the Quran is saying. So, and the other thing I would say is, I guess you can speak about the capital clear religion with a capital C and the little clear religion, in the sense of the clarifying aspect of the Quran, in that each looks towards the other. You can't speak about the clarifying nature of something, except that it clarifies something that is with a capital C clear. And likewise, if there is the clear religion with a capital C, it then looks to the clarifying nature of the Quran with a little c, if that makes sense. It's like the relationship between infinite and finite. They all look to one another. So at least in this universe, they're not mutually existent.
Yusuf wants to say something, if you don't mind, because he hasn't spoken yet. So go ahead, please, Yusuf.
Just a few things about this clear religion, Deen Mubin. So let's think about a textbook about machine learning. Machine learning is a hot topic nowadays. So imagine a book which says that this is the book for machine learning for everybody, like from an undergrad to a professor. It covers everything about machine learning, and it is very clear. So, I mean, if you read this book, you are going to get it. So, because if it is not very clear, then that means it's only for professors, maybe, or it's not having everything in it, partially. But if it's very clear, then it is good for everyone. So now think about a book which is explaining the existence. I mean, such a big claim. And it is the book for explaining the existence. And yet it is claiming that I'm a very clear, very explicit, very easily understandable book. And this, I would just like to remind the words in the Quran. It says, we revealed this book in Lisanun Arabiyyun Mubin, in a very clear, understandable language, or Huda Linnas wa Bayinat min al Huda wal Furqan. So in there, Bayinat min al Huda. So it is like a clear sort of guidance from the Huda, from the guider. So in this sense, Islam is the religion that is, I mean, the clear explanation aspect of it is because Quran is a clear explainer of the existence. So in this sense, I guess, is attracting the attention to this. It must be really explaining me the existence in a sense that no matter what sort of a man I am in terms of my learning, I should be able to make sense of it and understand the existence. So this is why I guess in the following sentences, he is saying that for such a book, I mean, given that it is claiming to be explaining the existence, yet explaining it clearly, then what would you expect out of it? How would you expect it to be? So would you expect it to mention things only once and pass? Or would you expect it to use a language which is very high level, low level? So I guess this needs to be kept in perspective for a book that is clearly explaining for such a tough problem of existence. I mean, it's not machine learning, then how it would look like. I guess all the explanations that follows can be read in the light of those thoughts, maybe.
So for instance, then when it talks about, an author says, repeated questions of its various classes, should we understand it as whoever reads it, regardless of their state, regardless of their current understanding of the creation, the existence, they would all find their answers to their questions. In your example, for instance, from the student to the professor. Is it how you read these various classes part?
Yes.
Okay, that was a clear and short answer.
I would also say, though, if it explains the true worldview, in a sense, one could argue that every individual has a certain understanding of that true worldview. They're not able to completely encompass it or capacitate it in its entirety. And what I mean by that, I don't necessarily mean that they can't arrive to that it being necessarily true, that these things must be necessarily true. What I mean is that they cannot completely encompass it in their understanding of it, its meaning, the complexity and entirety of its meaning. If it is the true worldview, so to speak.
Can you repeat that? You said if it's in the true worldview, then what?
If it is the true worldview, or as one of the brothers said, al-haq, it is the worldview to explain the world. I'm not saying it's not explained clearly to every individual, but even if it's explained clearly to every individual, because it concerns the worldview or the absolute truth, every individual in their own question, even if one person asks the same question. For example, I may ask, what is let's say, how do I thank my creator? And the response may be by demonstrating your thankfulness through physical action. How I interpret that, though, is different for different people in terms of what it means to each individual. It's the various classes of individuals. Nursi has a certain interpretation of how he sees that. But the prayer itself concerns the true worldview completely. So it's kind of I don't know if it's the best example, but that's something that just came to me immediately. I don't know if that makes sense, but if somebody else has a better explanation or if they understand what I'm trying to say, but that's how I understand it.
Also, you were saying something.
Yeah, see, I'm not sure if I understood or misunderstood you, but I don't think not every individual or not any individual really has to comprehend the truth in a way, or the message, whatever it is, because that's actually what the author is talking about here, right? The message itself or the movement itself is so comprehensive that actually it addresses all different personalities and all different layers of the societies, and every level or every individual with different character will get something different out of it, and but they will get something out of the message or out of the religion.
He's also.
Well, I agree. I agree. I don't think everybody can get the same thing, or it's not necessary. What I'm saying is, it speaks that the fact that everybody can get a certain meaning out of it demonstrate that it must be the true worldview. That's what I mean.
Just one addition to what you said, there is also a unifying aspect of the message as well. Yes, everybody will probably get their own understanding, which will change from one person to another, from one aspect. But from another aspect, the message unifies people at the core through the divine unity, so that the author also talking about the social life of world of Islam. So whatever Quran brings, it's not something food for individuals. It's not just, taking you, shaping you, transforming you in isolation. It's something also shapes you within a social context as well.
I guess you can call it unity in multiplicity.
Mm-hmm.
You can call unity
in
multiplicity. Yes. Great point. Ahmed, you were saying something.
Oh, I don't know. The brother. No. When the brother said you can't encompass the whole thing, it reminded me of. Well, I never thought about this, but in Surah Al-Baqarah, the first 2 ayahs or 3 ayahs, Alif Lam Mim, ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة. So it said this is the book. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt in it. That is guidance for the believers, or the guidance for people who. The first thing that comes right after is those who believe in ghaib, or basically believe that, there's. I guess ghaib means things that are not clear to us, or not, we don't see. Akhirah is ghaib. There's a lot of stuff that's ghaib. The angels are ghaib. But in a sense, this is sort of the first time I thought about it, that he said, we can't comprehend everything. But subhanAllah, it's almost like you can't really be a true believer without recognizing first that you're not going to be able to get to know everything. That you sort of understand your limitations and just believe that this is
Interesting.
But then maybe I'm just too tired today or something.
I would slightly differ. I would say ghaib, and I think we've maybe talked about it, is that, at least how I understand it, is that it's unseen because it's any sort of conclusion or necessity is unseen. You know, if I make some sort of statement of conclusion or necessity, it's unseen to me. However, that doesn't mean I can't understand it or it's not true. It's just that I can't encompass the entirety of its meaning. For example, if you were saying angels, I can necessarily conclude it to be true. It must be part of the encompassment of the truth, the worldview. Now, what do angels convey to me in terms of meaning specifically? That's specific to me. I can't sort of encompass the entirety of meaning. I guess you could call that unseen, in that I have no complete comprehension of absolute truth. Not that I should or I can, but the fact that I can have an interpretation or a understanding, and everybody else can have a different interpretation, even though it comes from the same source, speaks to the necessity of it being the truth. Yeah, and my concern initially was, somebody could read this and say, well, Nursi's making this claim. Well, I can say, I could just replace the word Quran with, any other speech. I can say the Bible, the Torah, the Gita. I mean, I could write something and I can name it something and put it in. What fundamentally differentiates? I know Berkan asked that question. What is it about the Quran that differentiates it from every other sort of book that's claimed to be a speech in terms of its worldview? And I think that's the question I'm interested in.
And Suhail, actually, you can replace the Quran with Bible and Torah in its original sense, that wasn't changed or that was kept like as how it was revealed, right? So you can technically replace that.
He's just being politically correct. You don't have to answer that.
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
There is no idea that I have to be politically correct for. Not like that's in a way it's a joke, but in a way it's a really serious comment, because we constantly have that categorization and compartmentalization in our mind. When we say Quran, I'm sure we all gonna say that no, that's not what I really mean. But we always speak with that assumption that is the book of the Muslims, and the Bible the book of the Christians, and the Torah the book of the Jews. But in reality, in its essence, they are all the speech of God, and they all actually revealed to establish the world of Islam. We, human beings, came up with the names and groups and categorizations.
I can't disagree with you on that point.
Just going back to the text, now he ties all these definitions about the Quran, its being founder and so on, to repetitions again. I guess he's also, he gives a clue, how he makes the tie. It says repeated questions of its various classes. So again, repetitions are there, one aspect at least, because our questions are repeated all the time. It's not I have a question, I read Quran, I get the answer and it's done. Every moment in my life, I repeat the same question again and again. So for instance, last week we already discussed, but when it comes to La ilaha illallah, with every decision I make, I have the same question. Who is the creator of this thing in front of me? And Quran comes and tells me the answer. Allah. Like I go to the work and I open my door, I open the door of my office, and I have the question in my mind, who is the owner of my future? Is it my boss? Is it the people I work with? Right? And then I come to home, I open the door of my house, and I ask the question, who is the owner, the creator of my happiness? Is it my wife? And it's the friends that will visit me?
Not to put you like on the spot, but like you realize that like as you are making the comment to remind yourself that like La ilaha at every single moment, but as you are saying it, you are always referring to the things as my office, my house, my wife. It's just like something very
good point. So anyway, yes, I need to, but I have this question all the time. So questions are repeated, therefore the answers are repeated. That's one aspect, I guess. But it also says repetition is necessary for a founder in order to establish things. So I'm sure there are different layers of this sentence, but this one thing, I guess I'm repeating this for several weeks. I will continue repeating. I guess the aspect that when author talks about the foundation or founder, which establish something, the way I understand is whatever being established is so new to me, so that I need all these reputations, so that it will be strengthened. So what I'm trying to say is we shouldn't take it any lightly. The message of the Quran shouldn't be taken as any lightly, like something simple. For instance, just to tie different things, going back to question Qasim had about charity. But the Quran says, give charity, or help the orphans. So I shouldn't take it as light. I shouldn't take it as, oh yeah, Quran telling me just help people. It's not a new establishment, it's not a new worldview at all. So there is no founder if I take it that way. How Quran talks about charity or how Quran talks about helping orphan is completely different. It's something that I'm not accustomed to here. So for instance, when Qasim asked the question, it's reminded me the Surah Dua. Right there, God tells me, help orphans. Right now, you help orphans, or sorry for my ignorance. I can't remember the exact translation, but when I look at how it begins and how it continues, helping orphans or helping other people, giving charity, at least with one aspect, it's about my own need. I am in need of being taken care of. And Quran tells me, Irkan, are you in need of being sustained? Like, are you looking for the ones who will sustain you? Are you in need of security? Then help people, he says. If you need security in your life, if you are worried about your food for tomorrow, just go and give food to others. Because he says, it is not you that give you this feeling, this sense, the people were talking about the sense of, giving charity. It's not you, the source of this sense of giving to others. It is me putting it here. It is me as a stranger making you to help a complete stranger, giving you this need giving you this sense, and giving the need to others as well, and then making you match, so that I show you from first hand that it is me giving the sustenance to others. So if you need security, go and give the others charity, so that you will know me, so that you will find the security in your action. So this is a completely new worldview. It gives me security.
Giving a charity to someone who is in need of it has nothing to do with the person that is in need of it, and has everything to do with you and your own conviction in your own heart that He is the provider and He is the true owner of the things that you are entrusted to. And reminding you in at different occasions constantly to, like, so you can be in conscious of this, and you can firmly establish this like conviction in your heart about the fact that He is the sustainer and you are not the malik of the things that you own.
And you are not being left alone. Like this is how Surah Dua starts, right? You are worried that you are left alone. Don't worry. You know how to establish this security? Just go and help orphans. That you think they were left alone, just go and help them, and you will know that I am there for them, and I am there for you as well. So what I'm trying to say is, like, then when we see something in Quran, a message in Quran, we should remember that the Quran is a founder of a new social life, a new world of Islam that I'm not accustomed before. I was not accustomed before. Be ready to be transformed. Don't take it light. It is the founder, therefore you need all these repetitions. It's telling you something new.
Yeah, I think about it in a certain way as well, in that, when if you take a class, let's say, I think maybe the best example is a math class, and you're learning, let's say, algebra or calculus or even addition. To solidify a concept or a method, you have to see it in many different ways, and even take it to its furthest limit in, let's say, however different ways a problem can be presented. In the same way, what Osman was saying, La ilaha is sort of the, methodology. But to see only maybe a glimpse of its totality, you have to see it in different respects, different angles. For example, I may go outside and, look at a sunset. That gives me a different experience, different human feeling, emotion, than, let's say, if I see somebody who maybe is dying, or I might, be, enjoying some sort of, some food, or I may be having a conversation with somebody. Everything has a certain underlying methodology or underlying concept that's present that unites them all, but they look towards different aspects of the human being. And that's why I think he can say it changed human social life, because it addresses humanity through its underlying methodology.
Maybe this is too late to ask this question, but
it's never too late.
We're constantly saying the Quran says this, and I look at the Quran and I see that's telling me this, but what am I supposed to understand by Quran? I don't think it means just open up the Quran and read it, because I don't really do that much. Or no, like, what am I supposed to understand by the Quran tells me? What am I supposed to understand? This is the Quran tells me to do this, or I look at the Quran and it says this. Like, what's the concept there? What's the concept there?
What is the concept?
Right.
When we say the Quran
Okay.
tells me to do this and tells me to do that. Like, I don't think you guys are saying you read an ayah that tells you to do that and then you're following that. Is that what you mean? Or is the
So I
question not
guess it's
clear?
going back to, again, I understand, like at the very beginning of the 19th verse, the author was talking about different different ways of was he using the translation there? I just
three different sources of
source. Okay.
explaining the universe.
There are three great and universal things which make known to us our sustainer. One is the book of the universe, a jot of those testimony we have heard from the 13th Flashet. The another is the seal of the prophets, peace and blessings be upon him, the supreme signs of the book of universe. The other is the Quran of mighty stature. I guess we should first take this as a baseline, one thing. So there are three different sources complementing and going together. So without book of universe, without reading the book of the universe, probably you wouldn't make much sense of Quran.
What is book of universe?
Creation.
Okay.
Like looking at what's going on around. Another thing, at the beginning of the 14th Droplet, he gives one definition of the Quran as the translator of the great book of the universe. Like there's book of universe, the creation around you, and the Quran is the translator of this. So what I'm trying to say...
Like when you read the verses and follow the message, it translates. Is that what you're saying? So when we say the Quran tells me this, you mean the message? Or?
Yes, it's the message, but it should, it translates something. Like without this something, your life, your experiences, your questions, your desires, your worries, your, happiness, without them, there is no translation as well, right? So what I'm trying to say, the way at least I see is when you live your life truly, like when you open your senses, and when you let your book of universe speak to you, and then with the Quran, with this understanding and with this purpose, like I'm reading the book of universe, but there is certain parts that I don't understand. Then Quran speaks to you. Or you read Quran, you read the verse, and then you see that, oh yes, you know what? I experienced that. Or I'm experiencing this right now. Like taking them together, it speaks to you. Yusuf, go ahead, please.
I mean, to Abdurrahman's question, as far as I understand, it should mean, you open up the book and listen to or try to understand what the verses are saying. But of course, not to reduce Quran to the ink and paper in between two of your fingers, but with all the definitions that he has been providing so far. First, we need to have this concept of wahi, concept of ghaib, and the book of creation needs to be as a concept. I mean, in front of me, I need to consider all of them and then sit in front of the book that we know as Quran, or let's call it Mus'haf. So sitting in front of this book and reading a verse from there, then I will try to, since the book is claiming that it's clear and open and it is explaining the existence, then I will ask the question, so what do you mean? But just as a additional comment in there, so Quran being open or clear doesn't also mean that whatever you understand first by reading a verse is what Quran is saying. And of course, this is beyond the scope of the discussion right now, but just in case, this doesn't mean that you need a verse and the first meaning, let's say, rain is coming from Sama, the verse says. And Sama means like the skies, not the atmospheric sky, but in Quranic language, it is like from beyond the other realms, sort of. So if you read a plain verse, it sounds like it is coming from, I don't know, outer space. So is this what it is saying? Certainly not. So there is also a way to study the Quran. So this is why, as Abdurrahman was saying, I'm not sitting in front of Quran, so does that mean that I'm not studying Quran? The truth is, yes, we are not studying Quran, but at least we are trying to. Like this discussion is, inshallah, an endeavor, a supplication to get into this path. But this doesn't also mean that if I learn, let's say, simple Arabic and sit in front of the Quran, whatever I understand is Quran. This is also not the case. So this clear explanation should mean that within the what Quran should be, or what is the existence, who am I in here? This is what I guess Birkanab was saying with all the giving the previous discussion week's summary. Considering them, Quran is going to start speaking to me. So yeah, I mean, we should try to sit in front of the Quran and try to get our message out of it.
And this is one thing actually I really like with the author. Like he doesn't exclude any aspect. Like when he talks about, for instance, the message of the Quran, it does not speak the message of the Quran by excluding the Quran, the book. Like, oh yeah, okay, since it's all about the message, I can just sit somewhere, think about the creation, and this is, what I'm supposed to do. It talks them all together, like, yes, there is Quran that you should read, but there is also Book of Universe that you should read. But there is also a seal of the prophets that you should follow. But they're all together explaining you the sustainer. So yeah, I guess let's say.
And I guess this would be the seal of the prophets. This book we're reading.
I guess with the seal of the prophet is referring to the path of the Sunnah, or path of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How you reach this path from what source you read or understand Sunnah or follow Sunnah. It's another discussion, but this is what I understood at least. So we have 15 minutes. I guess we can start with the second paragraph, the other paragraph as well. I'm waiting if there's someone want to say something. Well, okay. Also, it speaks of such mighty matters and minute truths that numerous repetitions are necessary in different forms in order to establish them in everyone's heart. So I guess this is important, that in everyone's heart. It's not like the heart of the scholar or heart of the professors, heart of the, let's say, the regular person. It's everyone's heart. Nevertheless, they are apparently repetitions, but in reality, every verse has numerous meanings, numerous benefits, and many aspects and levels. So I guess this is one miraculousness of the Quran, that it speaks to everyone in every condition, in every state, in every place and every time, at every time. So the first sentence, I need some help there. It speaks of such mighty matters and minute truths. So there are different options coming to my mind. Like, I can take it as sometimes it talks about, you know, mighty matters. Sometimes it talks about the small things. Is one way. Another way I can, I guess, read it as even when he talks about the minor truths, it's somehow regards the mighty matters. So I need help. Like, please, if you can share your thoughts on that.
Could be like many layers.
What?
Oh, I was gonna say it could be like many layers. So there's different ways of. There's like many layers to like these different truths.
Yeah, you know, to me, what makes a matter mighty is if it addresses the underlying reality, underlying existence of the world, and in the case of the Quran, it would be the matters of belief. I mean, that's kind of what Nursi always emphasizes. These incontrovertible matters, incontrovertible principles of existence would be belief, and that's kind of what, if you open up any chapter of the Quran, you really see that every sort of ayah is, in a sense, it always comes back to that, because that underlies every sort of, so to speak, aspect of creation itself, aspect of the world. Whereas, at least to me, the minute truths would be things that are sort of derived from those matters of belief. For example, you know, kind of in our weekend discussion, we're talking about following the way of prophecy. You know, why is it necessary to follow, you know, his conduct, his way of doing things, his actions? Those would be, in a sense, those are derived from the fact that not only must there be messengership, but that messenger must be followed out of a human, human need, intellectual, emotional need. So that's how I understand them. They're minute because they follow from it, the underlying principles.
So what's the translation?
Osman, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Would you? Yeah, we have unmuted. Would you like to also clarify this translation issue?
Yeah, we are.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, what I understood from this, like, it speaks of such a mighty matters and minute truths. If I am to, like, give an example, like mighty matters, I'm gonna die, and there will be a death of universe as well, and there will be another world will open up, right? That is like in the main, like one of the main messages of the Quran. So this is such a mighty matter that, like, everyone is really, like, busy with this, like, expectations. And when he talks about minute truths, I think instead of minute, I would say, like, maybe more subtle truths. So there may be a translation issue. For example, an example for this is like Quran at the same time speaking to me in a way that he talks about such a subtle aspect of the human being that when I read it, I go like, oh yeah, like this is like who I am, and I never thought about that before. So it is something very personal, very, like, intrinsic.
Very in detail.
Yeah, in a very detailed manner, in a subtle way that actually sometimes you may not even never be aware of it. I think that would be another like solid example for me, like how I would, how I should say, like, put this like in like concrete terms for myself.
So minute is not like secondary. Minute is, you're saying it's Sorry, how do you define it again?
I think minute, like not like subtle, like not like in something small or something secondary. It's rather like something very subtle truth that like it's not very obvious. You just need to put the time and the effort and reflection on it to understand it.
Or maybe it's like it's regards to details of things. It's the original word is, I'm really sorry referring to this original text all the time, but there's the Mesail Azime for the mighty matters, and then it says Hakaiki Dakika. So
the data here is not minute. I think it's more like the data is like precise.
Yes,
like,
yes, exactly.
Very
precise,
like detailed or very delicate.
Yes, very delicate, very detailed
precise,
truths.
detailed, yeah.
Yes, like it talks about the death, for instance, very mighty matters, but also it talks about your death and your fear of death as well. And so anyway, I guess it's like, as Yusuf was saying, like it's a book with a claim that I'm explaining the existence from one end to the other. Like I'm not leaving any room for anyone at any level. So I'm explaining the existence as a clear book, as a clear religion. And as author says, it established them in everyone's heart.
And like, for example, Quran talks about in subject like subtle matters or subtle truths that actually directly refers to like the secrets of my heart. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, maybe from one, yes. And secrets of my heart is a good example, I guess. Nevertheless, he continues.
But
go
I
ahead.
think I reflect on saying it's interesting because usually when you have a book that addresses everyone, it's very hard to address the minute, like not minute, but the detailed or like very precise or delicate things. And usually for like general speech or things that you want to get across to everybody, they simplify, they try to almost like
Dumb it down.
not dumb it down, but like they give you like the outline, but they won't give you the detail. In a way, like what he's saying is like, you know, with the repetition, you know, like there's that extra, you're getting that extra detail, you're getting that extra precision. So that way, like everyone has a clear picture of what's going on. Like someone could say like there's a car. Someone else can say, you know, this is a car, this model, this way, this, and use all kinds of jargon to describe the car, and how the engine moves, and how this happens, and how, you know, all these things. But you're not going to reach everyone if you say that. But in a way, subhanAllah, it's, you know, the Quran does get to a point that it talks about all these things. At least that's one, just a quick reflection.
I guess, you know, at least one, I don't know if this is a good example or this is what he's kind of alluding to. You know, I thought about, you know, the story of Moses and the Pharaoh. You know, the overarching, I guess, mighty matter would be who must be the source of existence. But I guess in that sort of narration, you see the relationship between the Pharaonic worldview and the prophetic worldview at a personal level. How does it affect sort of human condition, human emotion, and what does it lead people towards? You know, the Pharaonic worldview for people to take a sort of tyrannical approach to their existence, whereas, you know, prophecy, you know, it addresses the human aspect of reliance upon the creator or trust in the creator of the universe. So I don't know if that's kind of what he's speaking about, but that's kind of one example I thought of.
He says, nevertheless, they are apparently repetitions, but in reality, every verse has numerous meanings, numerous benefits, and many aspects and levels. Also, I guess he said something similar in the first sentence, where he says, numerous repetitions are necessary in different forms. So, yeah, they're apparently repetitions, but they, like the reason they are repeated or the reason they are stated there might be different from one place to another place based on the context, for instance. Like my need for La ilaha illallah would be different when I'm interacting my wife than my friends or my boss. So the answer is same, apparently, La ilaha illallah, but the way I need it, the way I will take it, it will different.
Even at the very personal level, there is a constant renewal of your own emotions. There is no two moments that in terms of the emotions that usually feel the same way or same thing or same intensity. So if there is such a constant renewal in your own being and in the creation, you cannot really again speak of the repetition.
Let's not break our tradition and conclude with Yusuf's comments. He's raising his hand to speak. So go ahead, Yusuf, and then inshallah we can conclude since it's time.
Some very simple example. I have two hands, I have two eyes, but apparently they are repetition, but they're not really a repetition because I explicitly need two hands to do something. One, right hand is for some purpose, the left hand is for another purpose. So I guess the same thing applies in the Quran. So it's same word repeats in several different places in Quran, but they mean different according to where they are. Likewise, I should be looking for different meanings in that context as well. So I shouldn't be saying, again, the same thing. So I don't do that when for my left and right hand or the eyes. All of them are individually very valuable for me. Same thing should apply for Quran, and when I am studying Quran, I should be expecting different things from all those verses as well.
سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. الفاتحة.